This is Ed. I'm in San Diego, and welcome to the Global TV Talk Show. This is a special event that's being run. I'm turning it over to Philip Berry. Philip Berry and I have known each other more than 25 years, 100% trust. So what we're going to be talking about is from a mastermind point of view. In other words, we've already been there and done that. He has managing people operations in 60 countries for for Colgate-Palmolive, and one was Brazil. You've managed people in Brazil and all across Latin America, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's like no big deal, huh? Okay, so Jana is coming in and Joseph McGuire from Dublin. So we are truly international today
No, good.
in this live broadcast recording session. But I purposely not uh, spiked the public awareness. Hello, Joseph.
Hi,
Good
Joseph.
morning, gentlemen.
How are
Yeah,
you?
welcome, my friend. Uh, and here's
Oh,
Jana
there's
in
Jen.
Rio.
Hey
Hi,
everyone.
Hola,
Jen. How are
hola.
you?
Yeah,
Good to see you again, Jen.
Great to see you, Philip. How is everything?
yeah,
Everything is going
great.
pretty fine.
Yeah, really
Awesome.
good. Okay,
That's
Jana,
great.
I think you've met Joseph McGuire before.
No, we haven't met
No,
before,
Oh
so
my God.
absolute
Okay.
pleasure, Jana.
my
Okay.
pleasure, Joseph.
Okay. Jana and I have known each other on the internet, but we've never met in person. Not that I can recall anyway. And
What is a shame?
I know, really. And she's been at the United Nations in positions and in various energy companies. And she has recently launched a venture called RISO Global. Is it RISO or RISO?
That's the beauty. You can say as you want. Riso, it means smile.
Yeah, okay. And very quickly, Joseph has been on multiple shows here past few years. He's the author of a beautiful book called Face Facts, and that's a play on words, of course. But if you look at my face, do I look honest without my beard? It's because you can see I shaved it off.
No.
And what do you think that signifies, Joseph?
Oh, you're radiating absolute honesty there, Ed.
Yeah, I took a shower earlier. Yeah. All right. So here we go. Philip Berry and I have known each other a long time, as I mentioned, and it all started in New York, of course, but and then Paris. Was heavily involved in 1999 producing meetings in Europe and Paris at Le Méridien at Montparnasse was a stellar event, and he was a headliner at that time managing from Paris 60 countries global HR. Philip, can you do 30 seconds on what that elevated position taught you?
Well, what it taught me is how to manage within different cultural frameworks. So it's not just the countries themselves, but being able to understand the people and the markets and the customers in each of those areas. I mean, that's the most important piece of that. And what was so wonderful about it is that many times when people are at my level, say like if they're in the United States, and so what they want to do is they want to replicate the United States in all of those other countries that they go to. That is not the way to approach the world. The way to approach the world is to go in as a learner. And if you do that, then you will be able to be successful.
So building bridges.
Yes, as Joseph McGuire talks about in terms of building bridges, it's definitely about building bridges.
So toothpaste doesn't change, but the packaging and the meaningfulness of toothpaste does.
Well, matter of fact, in Russia, we had a formula that relied upon bees, a certain substance in bees, in order to help you to clean your teeth better. Or if you were in Kenya, then you were using another substance that and you realize that the marketplace consisted of other types of substances to brush your teeth. I mean, I could go on and on with that, but again, that's the type of learning that you get when you're going somewhere else.
So I want to also bring
Oh,
to the point here, and then I'm going to stop talking,
mm,
is what you taught me was the personalities and the social cultural mores in, say, the Czech Republic is somehow similar to parts of Latin America, and the people can be transferable.
yeah, I think the example that you're pointing to is some work that I did when I was opening up Romania and in Eastern Europe. And so one of the things, first of all, when you look at Eastern Europe, Romania, Poland, Czech Republic, uh, and you'll see some similarities and differences with those countries and also how they relate to Uruguay in there also. Got to throw Russia in there because that also was another part of it. And when I look at the marketplace and when we were opening up the subsidiary operation in Romania, we found that people who were in in Central America, in El Salvador, in Guatemala, uh, and in Costa Rica, the marketplace itself and the people in the marketplace, there's some real similarities in the languages, of course, with that because they are Romance languages when you think about Romania, but also how people are operating and what they're doing in the market themselves. And so it was very easy for us to transfer people from, say, Guatemala or wherever to Romania, and they felt at home. So that's I think the point that we're referring to there. So and all of us, I know all of you have been involved, in moving expatriates from one place to another, and we know that the family is you can't just move the executive, whoever he or she might be. What you have to do is to think about how is the family going to adjust because you are moving a number of people who have, like the person who is the expatriate, they're almost dealing with issues and some people in the same way because they're talking with people at the head office. It's like they haven't really, quote unquote, moved, but the family has moved. You know, they have new schools, they have to adjust on where you're going to buy your clothes, where you're going to shop for food, everything, who your neighbors are going to be, and so what we realize is that from a total system standpoint, when you expatriate a person, you are expatriating a family, and the success of that family is important to the success of that expatriate assignment.
So China is an expert at this particularly, and that's the foundation, one of the foundations that she explained to me of Riza Global, taking the people of care. When the family, just say the spouse, partner, um, she doesn't know who, she doesn't know what, she's got no friends, she's alone, and the relationship between the transferred spouse and the executive, bang.
Exactly.
More than half of international assignments blow up within the year because of that.
Jana, I am glad that Ed is using the term not trailing spouse that used to be old school, but the person who is accompanying that person. Think how long all of you have been involved in expatriate assignments with either yourself. I mean, I've expatriated also, and we had such bad language in terms of how we were dealing with this phenomena.
Well, I relocated my young family at the time, 1980, from Boston to LA, and that could have been to Romania.
That's a cultural, yeah, that's for sure.
Philip, you wrote this book a long time ago, Being Better Than You Believe. That means that, I mean, you had your sights set way back then on rebranding, but it wasn't called rebranding at the time. It's just evolving and continuous learning, correct?
Yes, it is continuous learning. You're right about that, and I think that one of the principles within it is has to do with how individuals, like when you move a person from. It's good that we started out, Ed, in your wisdom as you usually do. You start. No, no, sir, I'm serious. You start out with the expatriate piece because when all of us who have been involved in moving expatriates have found that individuals now have maybe a set of skills, a set of competencies, and their value to the organization, if they can communicate it well enough, will be enhanced because of their assignment. And so it really blends very readily into this topic that we're going to talk about, which is AI and rebranding, which is what I'll segue into now. And then and what I'll do, I'll set it up with a few points, and then I would love to open it up for rigorous discussion after I've gone through and given you some of the points here, if that's okay.
Perfect.
So, and the reason why we're here is this, that we hear so much conversation about AI. It is dominating the lingua franca right now. But people, it's dominating it in a way that it is controlling people, and people are not getting control of AI. And they are feeling that there's a phenomena that is taking place that is going to determine what their future is going to be and what their life is going to be. And so when I talk about rebranding, what I'm talking about in this particular context is how can we strengthen the professional value that we bring to the workplace as a result of AI, and how can we rebrand? This is how do you rebrand? And I'm going to give you a number of points associated with this, and the points are going to deal with a few issues. One is, what does it mean for an individual? And I'm going to go into a little detail in each of those 5 points, but it's a challenge, this whole piece around personal rebranding, because they still are just thinking about branding as well. That's what marketing people do. Without
Is it possible to enlarge those slides a little bit?
I can't do it from my side.
Hmm. Yeah. Okay. Uh, I don't mean to interrupt. I'm just trying
No, that's okay.
to see what to do here.
But I'm going to be going into a piece where you're going to see, I'm going to talk about it from this standpoint. How can we highlight the skills and expertise and contributions that really can help an organization? I'm going to talk about it from the standpoint of what are the emerging skills. I'm going to talk about how can we improve the visibility that AI brings to the situation. How can we strengthen the reputational value? How can we use AI as a part of the framework to create thought leadership? And then how can we demonstrate AI in a productive manner? So let's go into each of these here. There are, first of all, three things that individuals can do when they're trying to create a positive situation. You know, we need to have people know more and using AI as an enhanced way to problem solve. It used to be that problem solving consisted of, well, if I have a problem, I'm going to go into the internet or I'm going to Google something. That was the language that we used in order to help us enhance our problem solving. However, what happened is that we did not increase the visibility of thought leadership from an individual as a result of that problem solving intervention. And so being able to use this as a way, a specific way, which I'll talk about, is to you enhance the expertise of the person and also allow a person to be a lot more confident about what they're doing and consistent. And let me talk about this for a second. Sometimes what people do, there's a session I'd like to do where we talk about the forays that people take into the whole AI area. So usually the first foray that people take is they say, well, I'm going to find one of those things that I like, and then that's going to be the way I'm going to approach things. I'm going to approach it through ChatGPT, or I'm going to use M365, or I'm going to use Meta, and they stay with that. They hug one particular area without thinking about the way that we getting problem solved when we were just using the internet. We use several different sources and we use them in different ways. And I'm going to talk about that. So, what we want to do is to have it so that individuals are not a one AI pony, one horse pony, which is the way some people are. It's okay for people to approach it that way. I use about 5 or 6 different forms of AI because I approach it from the standpoint of these are all tools. It's like you have if you have a problem in front of you, and so you say, well, I'm going to use a wrench with this. I'm going to use a hammer. I'm going to use a screwdriver, or I'm going to just use my shoe. That was how I approached a certain problem. That is the way we ought to look at this from the standpoint of AI, not just feeling that one thing is going to do it all. So we want to have individuals build more of a reputation of collaboration and trust with this. And we do that first. I talked about how we can have individuals more known as AI enhanced problem solvers. So instead of worrying about AI replacing your job, we want individuals to position themselves as someone that uses AI to improve their results. It's a different way. It's turning the piece upside down. Research really suggests that people who are really productivity enhancers are really using AI in a specific way. And here's some five days. When learn AI tools that are relevant to your role. Use AI to automate repetitive tasks. My first job as a computer person. I worked at IBM. That was my first job. I was 16. And so one of the things that I learned is that there are a number of different ways for you to use different systems within the computer enhancement area in order to improve your results. And that's the same thing that you want to do with AI. You want to bring ideas to improve your efficiency, your customer experience, and also how you're
Okay.
reporting on things. And then what you want to do is to share those in a way that makes you successful and useful with your teams. And the first thing we were talking, I was complimenting Ed on the language that he was using. We need to have a new branding to ourselves that says that I am someone who helps the organization work smarter. That is your new way of approaching problem solving in an organization using AI. Then the other thing that we want to do is to increase your visibility through thought leadership. And we do that in 3 different ways. One is that draft and publish the content that you have. So you can use AI, for example, to help you more extensively when you're looking at posts that you have, internal newsletters, any presentations. But people can enhance their leadership by bringing new thoughts to the party that weren't there before. And also, what you want to do when people are sharing or presenting, talk about the lessons that you've learned from projects. What are some ways that you can volunteer in a team meeting to bring a new insight that people didn't have before? And then with insights, you want to publish those. So those are you're talking about other trends. The wonderful thing about AI is that if you use it correctly, you can stay on top of trends with the consumer, with products, with the market, the place itself. And you can, and if you publish those and you bring that thought leadership to bear, then what happens is that you're able to increase your own brand by saying your rebrand is that I am a knowledgeable contributor whose ideas add value. That's the way you start out with that context there in terms of how you're going to approach things. And so talent to any person that is working on any project can become all of a sudden an AI expert or AI contributor. Don't go too fast to just say you're an expert because it's not about expertise, it's about contribution of new ideas and you're bringing that knowledge to bear in a situation. That's how you win in the new marketplace with a new brand because now you are a brand new person. You're not the same person that was there before. And so any situation that a person, whatever your profession is, you're able to use those and create new leadership from a thought perspective because you are asking questions that were not asked before. You are sharing content that people didn't even know existed before. That's the second way you do it. And then the third way, you build your reputational value from a standpoint of how you collaborate and also how you build trust. That the qualities that you bring to a situation are not, you're not trying to be a AI expert. What you're trying to do is that you're trying to build authenticity, build trust, and communicate the type of differentiators that help you in an AI driven workplace. And so you want to be known as a person who is helping others to succeed. The problem is that we too from a bad standpoint, people are trying to maybe they're trying to take over your job or they're trying to take over other jobs, but you want to be known as a person who's helping others to succeed. And you want to be a person who is a mentor to help others so that they are using these new tools and new processes. When we all too often what happens is that a person will say, "Oh, I have this nice new type of I'm using Android right now. I'm using whatever it is, ChatGPT. I'm using whatever," and they're trying to one up people without building the trust so that people understand that what they have are new insights that can generate transparency and also help you so that you can strengthen the relationships across departments. And so, how do you want to rebrand yourself in this way? You want to say, I'm a trusted partner who helps people and teams. That's the rebrand statement that you have. So rebranding starts by you just differentiating the contributions that you're making using AI. And the other thing, the simple formula that you would have for yourself is to say, well, I have a certain reputational value. If I look at the skills that I bring, increase visibility and trust, now I have a stronger personal brand. So you can see how I put together those three concepts there in terms of trust, but in terms of AI skills, increase visibility and trust. That is what helps you to increase your brand in the workplace. And so you want to therefore learn how AI more specifically and how you can find out what type of tools you can use as opposed to saying, well, I have the fanciest tool here in the house. Invest in understanding all of the tools that are out there. But quite frankly, just pick a few, don't all of them, pick two or three that you can utilize because you understand that you can utilize them in different ways. And then use AI to deliver some better results that make improvements in the work and also in the workplace in terms of the customer that you're working with, in terms of the products, in terms of the schemes, and then use it so that you can communicate those results that you have more effectively to your colleagues and to your peers and to other leaders, and use it in a way that helps others to succeed. And so, if you are able to do some of these four things here, you can be viewed more as an innovator, as somebody who's adaptable, and who values the contributions of others because you're creating a positive situation for them, for yourself, and also for others in the workplace. So these are the ones that I wanted to stay with. And then what I wanted to do from here is to go into, I wanted to give you something so that we can go into a rigorous conversation because based on the audience that we have here, a number of you are very familiar with some of these things. But let me just say this one last piece that goes to the piece that I think about when I'm thinking about how the book that I use is a coaching reference because right now people are trapped in comfort, their comfort and the comfort and the routine of the work that they do. And they're unfulfilled in many ways, no matter what level they are in the organization. But what we want to do is to help them as they are confronting the growing dissatisfaction that is in their lives. And that's what this book and this resource helps people to do. So that way they can embark on what I call a transformative journey of reinvention, using some of the 8 points as a guide in order to help them. And one of those points is looking at the value that they bring. How can I change? The first point in the book here is how can I change? And what can I do differently? And then how do I look at the type of values that have been strengthening me or upholding me in whatever job that I'm in, and what new values do I need to bring? And then if I look at the competencies that I have, how can I utilize new competencies that I didn't have before? See, people are still, they're like, it's like putting, you can't use good new wine in old bottles. You have to be able to do something very different. And so, and then what you want to do is to set a vision based on that. And then that's when you begin, after you set this vision, because you have the new competencies now and you have new values, then you're able to say, well, what or how do I rebrand myself? And you rebrand yourself based on some of the things that I've talked about. And you do it by developing your own board of directors that help you. And then you begin to look for opportunities for success. So this is how I put all of those together in terms of those. So I wanted to just put those. And then what I'd like to do is to have a conversation about some of the pieces that I talked about here. And Ed, I'll let you guide us.
Yeah, thank you very much. Philip is brilliant. So um, this is a media business, and people, normal people, don't have acting lessons and don't have acting experiences. The messaging is, okay, how do you communicate what I know? How should I communicate about my experiences with AI so that I don't sound like Gemini? Or somehow, I mean, I'm getting tongue-tied here, but uh, Joseph, could I take the lead, a quickie and clear sight?
Yes, Philip has covered a lot of territory there in considerable depth and his usual eloquence. So thank you very much, Philip.
Thank you.
Um, yes, I mean I'm typically brought in when the company has issues, and some of the issues I'm seeing are that certainly on this side of the pond, there's in many organizations there's considerable fear because there's been so much firing. So that makes people less inclined to learn in many cases and to perform. So there's an element there. I'm also increasingly aware that many of our younger cohorts haven't been trained to think. And that's a big factor when it comes to learning, when it comes to engaging with AI, because again, what we are seeing is so many people, yes, embracing AI in its various forms and putting out content or compiling reports which haven't been criticized, which haven't been critically evaluated, and which may or may not be relevant in terms of content and quality for the team or for the organization. Um, so they're simply a couple of the issues that I'm seeing and that are companies in some cases are addressing, but in some cases aren't. And at the top level, the C-suite level, I'm dealing with a number of people in those roles where they're saying there's we're seeing too much AI, we're seeing too much undigested material. So there there are a lot of positives to AI. I do use it. I do use various tools, so I'm by no means against it. It's a case of understanding how best to use it in the context of the work one is doing, the work one aspires to do, whether one is working as a solopreneur, whether it's working within an organization. We have to understand the context in which it can be used and which it can benefit. And if we are working as an individual within an organization, to highlight one of the big points Philip has made there, we do need to be able to think clearly, and we do need to be able to use the tools very effectively to highlight our value to the organization, so that we are not one of the nameless people who may be on the next list to be exited.
Thank you, Joseph. We're going to circle around. Jana, if I could ask you to explain quickly about Riso Global, and as I understand it, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that the whole concept here is an attitude of bringing total care to the situation.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks a lot, Philip. Thanks, Joseph. I truly appreciate. Always great to hear from you, Philip. I love how uh, you bring the experience and the importance of the knowledge and being adapted. So fantastic. Always great to hear. And I couldn't endorse more everything that Joseph said. So yes, here's the whole idea connecting with everything that you said in the beginning. Is I'm being in the industry of global mobility for over 20 years, and after being for a long time and seeing from different perspectives as a corporate, as a service provider, start to make me uncomfortable. The fact that nobody will say the wrong words, nobody will say that they don't care about the human behind the relocation, nobody will say that inclusion it's not relevant because those are not the right things to say. But unfortunately, I realized that really few companies were really worrying after the second page was a lot of concentration in the main individual relocating and all those things that you mentioned about the family, and not only the family but understanding that the individual is a total. It's not just there to fulfill a role, and if you see that there's potential in there, you should care about all the other things that make that professional relevant and everything that that professional needs to deliver what he's set for. So he's came to life in a way to guarantee that we deliver all the support for individuals that are planning or experience the relocation, but understanding that the people are at the center, that we are here, yes, to hold hands because we understand that it's not because we are babysitters, but we understand all the things that are impact during a relocation, how all the basics on the pyramid are not there in the process. So yes, it is important because doesn't matter how high the individual it is in the company, people don't know what they don't know, and basic things when you are moving to sometimes not even a country, to your point, Ed. Sometimes inside of a country you just will face
Right.
a lot of change, cultural changes that will really impact, and it's really easy for us all to just assume that some things are obvious, and there's no such a thing in the globe that we live. There's not a thing that it's obvious just because it's something that it's part of your routine. So we are here to support individuals to tailor solutions because we understand that one size does not fit all. And so yes, and all of that connects with what you guys are saying. AI is a supporter, giving a book or a guide. The other day we were talking about this, like it's 2026, there's so much changing, and there are companies that is still giving like guides of cultural, and then calling cultural difference just food and the language, but there's so much that it's more deep on it. So it's not about, I always joke that it's not because you're used to plan your annual trip to Disneyland that makes you a specialist on what we do. There's so much that changes when you're truly moving to a place, a lot of things that you will not even think that it's relevant to consider. So being ready to adapt, support the individuals, Philip, to guarantee that they know how to rebrand themselves in this new culture, how they can translate their skills, not just the expat, but the whole family, like kids at school, spouse, making new friends, readapting, if working or not. There is just that truly connects with everything that you guys are saying, and it really inspires me.
Thank you. Dr. Ken Lloyd, years ago, this is for the benefit of the audience out there, um, Dr. Ken Lloyd wrote a self-help column that was syndicated nationally by the New York Times. Uh, is this show turning into a self-help thing, Ken?
Well, ideally, I mean, you take this terrific presentation that Philip made today with additional points that Joseph and Jana just mentioned. And yeah, this is a great way to build one's schools, to help one skills and to help one get to a higher level, which is really what self-help is. Here's some information, here's some tools. Philip, your points on AI in this world, we see everything from eager anticipation, naive anticipation, profound fear, confusion. You've taken it, just focus the lens and say, look, here's a great way to look at AI and how it can impact our lives, our work, international relocation, to think, and using the word think by Joseph. I remember when I was growing up, my dad brought home a plaque, one word on it, and it was from, of all things, Philip,
Yeah,
IBM. And
exactly
it
right. Think.
said,
We had it. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it said, think. And I still have it. It was on the wall of the bedroom I shared with my brother when I was growing up. Just think. So that really tells us, yes, AI is a great resource, not a replacement, a great resource that we should learn about, understand, apply, share, try to generate measurable results and build from there. But at the same time, thinking, problem solving, the human element in all of these topics will still be critical. If you rely totally and solely on AI, you're going to get in trouble. And
Right.
sometimes it's if just when a student does it, and 26 papers come in, they all say the same thing. As well as in the workplace, if we use it, I mean, I know we've all read about the legal situation where a law firm had apparently presented a bunch of aspects of a case, all AI written, and it had fake precedents, fake judges, fake rulings. It was all completely wrong.
Wow.
Think, use that human element, just as all of us are mentioning today. So you talk about a tool for self-growth and self-help. That's really so important to take this framework. Because Philip, you used a great term. You used, well, to be a brand new person. I thought, wait a minute, brand new. I like that as a way to think about it. Look at your brand. Are you brand new? And that really will mean applying, utilizing, understanding AI, as well as to continue to upgrade who you are, what you do, how you do it, so that your brand is not sitting in a 1957 Chevrolet, which is a great classic, but that's not what you want to be today. So I think I like the idea of thinking, what am I doing to keep myself brand new, literally brand new? So thanks to all three of you. Really great information.
So I remember IBM and I'd been moved. Talk about
Mhm.
relocation. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, that's
Yeah.
that's that's just a brand bridge, an exit ramp for me to shut up. Philip.
Yeah, no, yeah, you both just brought up something from my past that I remember very well in terms of IBM and I'm being moved and yeah, and also think, we did have to have that everywhere, and the point is that people aren't using AI to think. they're using AI to come up with all of these solutions and tell it to me. Tell me what the problem is. Tell me what the solution is. And so they're not they've like given up on thinking because they're relegating that to somebody else. And so if people can just begin to be an individual who can take on the knowledge and position new insights to the work that's being accomplished or not being accomplished with the consumer, with their competitors. I mean, any individual in any job can bring those insights in, and that helps them to be seen in a very different way than they were before. Because now, what happens? There, people go into a meeting and they're talking about the problems. Well, hey, let me give you some new insights to something I've learned. And so you come with that perspective, and all of a sudden, your contribution is a lot different than it was before. And I know that from some of you, I'm sure all of you have been involved in some aspect of succession planning, where you have tried to succession plan individuals who have been in a nice assignment. And then now what we're thinking about is, well, how can this and where can we use these new skills and new talents that people have brought? And I tell you, that helped me. Like what used to happen, Ed, you remember this, many times, many of the discussions that took place on relocation is relocation as a person moving, over into quote unquote an international assignment maybe, and then they're moving right back to the country that they were in, say like in the US, as opposed to thinking about how they can utilize those skills in order to improve the organization and its products in different areas, so that way the company can be truly global. And that's one of the things, the competitive edges that we use, in the past work that I was involved in, so that way we can develop a global manager, a global leader, not just a person who had a nice assignment where maybe they were going to Disneyland land or something like that in Paris or over in Hong Kong, or I think it's in Shanghai, I believe. But the fact is that we need to have new thoughts, and any person. See, this is the thing. Anybody can own this. This is what's so good about this. It doesn't have to be just owned by a few people. And that's what some people are saying. Well, I own this because I have the best insight here in this area. So we're not helping a person so that way they can be a knowledge, insight contributor across the organization.
Jana, welcome back. So,
Oh, yes, thank you, Ralph.
about helping people take the skills that they've learned in, say, Romania, and then the same skills can be put in place in Buenos Aires or Rio.
Yeah, no, I love that you brought that, Philip, because it's really easy for people to just assume that it's about map closeness. I will use the example like Brazilians really tend to really believe that they are really similar as North Americans in US. And to your amazing example, Philip, you can think about Romania, and actually like the cultural similarities are bigger there. So it's nothing about it. There's a lot about the history back on things, and I love that you mentioned the culture, the language, and all those things. So again, as I mentioned before, there's nothing related to being obvious, but there's and those small differences and thinking about all those details are really important. And I love that everything that we are talking about thinking and in mobility, it's really relevant to like, okay, what I'm not considering here, what I'm not thinking about it. And I think what a lot of people are missing with all this AI thing is that it's not that the technology is here to think for us. It's
Mm,
it's that we are still the leaders. We are still the individuals making. We should be the individuals making the final decision. It's
mhm,
about I and I'm sorry if I will say the wrong word. You mentioned something about have the board, Philip. Uh, the people that are supporting you. I always think about AI as like a big team of assistants. And of course, if you are a leader, of course, you will hire talent that is better than you on things that you lack. So I feel that technology, AI, it's like this hire that you bring to support you on things that maybe you are not like super senior on it. But at the end, you should collect the information and be the one making the whole thought process on making the final decision, not just like, oh, it's there because to Ed's point, like not necessarily because it's there. It's correct, it's relevant, and connects to what you are trying to bring. And when we talk about mobility, I will say that normally it's really rare that what it's there truly is translated to a global mobility. Is as the world is always changing, adapting, laws are always in change. So yeah, just
Thank you so much.
That's wonderful
The
thoughts.
one of
Sorry.
the original headline ideas that Philip and I discussed a while ago was to bring in Joseph and the bridge example, the Golden Bridge example that he spoke on the TV show about a few months ago, and how it relates to all this. And so I want to bring Ken now into the forefront about the C-suite has a vision. Philip has a vision of how to do things better now. And part of that is rebranding. And the middle management has to deal with me as the talent. So, how does Philip's message go across the bridge and be understood by me, the talent, Dr. Kenloyd?
Well, it would not just come through one conversation or one lecture, but rather through ongoing, not only discussion, but practicing what's going on. So it's not a one-way street at all, but to engage and involve the individuals. Remember, a lot of our younger employees know, at least sense that they know a lot about this. And perhaps they have a lot of facts about AI. But what's also important is part of knowledge is wisdom and understanding when to use it, how to apply it, what kinds of other factors are there. To me, a great key component of really implementing the kind of frankly brilliant thoughts that Philip has presented today would be through the process of two-way communication, engaging the team, letting them understand benefits that accrue to them and to the organization by applying it, by understanding it, and certainly getting them involved in additional training, education, and development. At the same time, it's important to have a respect for what's called institutional knowledge. There's a lot in these organizations that are in these, if you will, cultures that seemingly are very easy to, we'll eliminate that. Let's just remove these individuals. They've been here a long time. What do they know? And they don't know that much about the new technologies, but they can carry a great amount of knowledge about what makes our organization terrific and successful and effective. And this really means that learning clearly goes on not only in the C-suite, but across the board. And as we've talked about before, well, it's important for the C-suite to educate and build and develop the team. There's a great opportunity for individuals in leadership positions to learn as well from them, not to come in with, here are the answers, here's everything, here's how you do it. But let's truly discuss and be open-minded for all of us to learn from each other, regardless of our title or level or years with the company.
Joseph?
I tell you, every
Yeah.
time I'm in these sessions, Ed, I think about the way when 20 some years ago, when we were first doing a number of these type of sessions, and what this meant, what I am leaving this session here with a lot more that I mean, I've given, but I am receiving so much listening to Jana and Joseph and Ken, which I mean, it's like it reinforces what I know and provides new insights and new pathways. I mean, I could speak for an hour on what I have learned from the three of them just commenting on some of the things that were there. And highlighting that those experiences and it speaks to me about the role that we would have as learners and as contributors, to the workplace and how we can improve the workplace and workplaces that we go into. I just wanted to just say that, like when we think about other mastermind sessions with somebody presenting something and then having people, come almost like what Ken was just talking about, like this, and Joseph and Janet who have spoke, we presented like insights from different sides of the issue and open and that open it up more. Don't it doesn't close it up. It's wonderful.
Joseph.
Always helps when technology complies. Simple things like a
Right.
mouse, simple things like a mouse.
Yeah, right.
Um, yeah, absolutely. I'm just following on directly from what Philip was saying and Ken also there, in particular. Um, it makes such good business sense to create bridges in how we communicate. And that means it has to start from the top down. And again, I'm typically called in when leaders aren't communicating with clarity and they're wondering why the team isn't, shall we say, fully compliant, or worse in some cases. Um, so when we when we have that awareness that it is about building bridges and that it simply makes great business sense to be curious, not to assume we know everything or that we have all the answers, and because we have a vision that is automatically the right vision or that it's automatically going to be followed. We have to make sure the communication flows down the chain, but also back up the chain, because we have to understand, or our middle management have to be trained to understand what the problems are further down the line, so that they can tell us what is practical in terms of our communication from the top down and what we may need to change and adapt. And whether that's in relation to AI or whether that's in relation to just standard operating procedures, we do need to have an overall view. Well, if you call it a helicopter view or whatever, but
Mhm.
again, it is very much a creating, building bridges right through the organization, rather than what happens in some organizations is we create a drawbridge and we bring the drawbridge up and we're in our we're in our castle and we're repelling borders, and that doesn't serve the business. It may serve our ego temporarily, but it does not serve the business. And we do need to have an awareness of how to communicate the business vision and the value of being part of the organization, the value of contributing to the organization. And we need to communicate that down the line. And we can only do that by being curious and being genuinely respectful. And it's not everybody who's going to stay on board with it or be on board even from the beginning. And in which case, then we may need to part ways by all means. But the more clearly we communicate the vision, the clarity, the values with respect, then the more likely the business is to thrive. And we can bring AI in very, very effectively.
Right.
We have 5 or 6
Right.
minutes. Ken?
I really like the integration of the bridge with the approach that Philip has taken with AI. I saw a golden bridge almost every day of my life when I was growing up, because I grew up in San Francisco. We had a view of the Golden Gate Bridge from our house, as did my high school. And it was something to really think about. Whenever I really needed to clear my head, quite seriously, I would go to Fort Point underneath the Golden Gate Bridge and just take it in, relax and get calm, get a new perspective. Before cell phones, before any distractions, there's something very magical about bridges. And when we tie them in, that imagery into AI and applying AI in our work and in our lives, it's just a great combination. So I take a bridge and I kind of attach it to what Philip has said today. It's a wonderful way to proceed. And Golden Gate Bridge is two ways. Cars are coming in, they're going out. the same thing. It's not a one-way bridge, and it's certainly not a drawbridge. And I think that's so important to keep in mind visually as well as just factually and literally in our minds in terms of relating to our work, to others, and to AI.
And while you're on the bridge, there's no off-ramp until you get across. Joseph, what's that mean?
Well, if you're looking to run a successful business, you're not looking to get off. It's very simple.
And you can't even jump off the bridge because they put walls up. And, you know.
I'd be interested if I may just to hear Janet talk about like with people that she's moving and who move around, when you think about these concepts, I mean, how do you integrate that into the assignments that people have and the thinking that people would have of the assignment that they're going into?
Yeah, it's funny, like the visuals on my intercultural science program are
Mhm.
all bridges, so super connected with what we are talking here. And yeah, it's about, as you said, Philip, I could talk for like an hour about everything that I learned from each of you. And um, it's about understanding that it's okay during the process to change the direction. It's not because we have a vision that it's the that will be in that direction one way. So I will like, yes, it's a two-way bridge, and it's probably like many bridges that are built and are ongoing. And it's really important to guarantee that we make the time for moments where we will be under the bridge thinking, that we will be in moments here where you will hear from different perspectives that will just amplify your vision, because it's so easy to just be focused in one thing, and then we will lose the whole vision, and not to mention on opportunities as things are changing so fast. And it's there's nothing wrong on changing as we communicate, to Joseph's point. And I will just highlight, and I love what you said about the fact that not everyone will continue during the process. And one of the things that was one of the really key things that I saw that I was ready for Rizzo was when I understood that it's not for everyone, not because it's too good or too bad. It's just because there are different needs. There are business that are looking for different things, and it's okay. So don't try to convince others, but try to find your people that will just connect and be like the ones shaking hands of like, oh, I got it. And those are your people who will be like ones ready to add, to amplify your vision, and to support during the journey, because there's no way to move forward. It doesn't matter where is the direction that the bridge is taking without the support of the others. It's really important to, yeah, have it clear.
I have a wonderful, wonderful thought. No more than 15 seconds on this that I want to contribute because I don't think this people know about my background. I was the vice president of human resources for the Tri-Borough Bridge and Tunnel Authority in New York, which controls all of the tolled bridges and tunnels. It's about eight or nine of them that connect all of the different parts of New York. And I was brought in, so I was turning my job. It was after I was at Digital Equipment Corporation, the computer company, and my job was to turn a personnel driven organization into a human resources organization. That was my job. And so
Fantastic.
I was just, and that was it. If you look at my bio, you'll see it there. I stayed there for a few years because I wanted to try to bring new insights into how that organization run. And that organization, the last 5 points. The last point is that the Tribal Bridge and Tunnel Authority collects tolls and monies that fund all of the transportation in the New York area. If you know New York, the Harlem Line, the Hudson Line, the New York City is a state organization, and it floats bonds in order to do that. So anyway, just a little insight, got me going on that bridge thing. Thought I might share my work with bridges.
It all connects at the end.
Yeah, yeah, we're all connected, that's for sure.
Thank you. Please come back. Let's do this show again.
Yeah, not looking
All right.
forward to it. Listen, wishing all of you very well and hope that I see you before the new year starts or if sometime in the next quarter or something. I don't know. So
I
Yeah.
will put this together again and perhaps we'll.
and Joseph, I think we know we have a call that I think I have to get back to you on that. So but
Thank you. Thanks,
this
Philip.
is great. Thank you so
You
much
also,
again,
Thank you,
Philip.
Anna,
Philip. Thank you,
Thanks to
and
all
Philip.
of you.
thank you
Thank
Thanks,
so
you.
much.
everybody.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah,
Be
take
Wonderful.
well
care.
all.
Bye.
Have a
Be
great
well.
week.
You
Bye.
too.